casting it out every week, every Thursday. Howdy folks, Father Columba here. I want to talk about something that has struck me recently looking at the gospel stories, especially in the synoptic gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I've been noticing in this initial one, the Galilean ministry of Jesus, that loads of the stories start with the phrase, and Jesus stood on the shore of the sea. Or Jesus and his disciples crossed over and got out of the boat and started to preach. What's interesting is if you look at this from kind of the symbolic perspective, in the scriptures, the sea, the ocean, large bodies of water often represent the nations, represent kind of like unbelievers. Whereas the land is often a reference specifically to Israel, which we could interpret to mean, for example, the church, or go another level, those who believe. So if we take this spiritual interpretation of this sea being unbelievers and the land being believers, where is Jesus? He is right in the middle. He's not just on land, which he did do sometimes, right? He's at this place, symbolically speaking, of where unbelievers, they have to go to this point in order to become believers. If someone is in the land of unbelief, if they want to get to the land of belief, they have to go through this place of transition, which is the transition from unbelief to belief. And symbolically, this is where Jesus positions himself. Now, interestingly, he's not the only one there, symbolically speaking. In Revelations 12, at the very end, because that whole chapter is about the battle between Satan and the Archangel Michael and his angels, and it's Our Lady is in there and Jesus is in there. It's this big symbolic battle. And at the end it says, and the dragon positioned himself. He took up position on the shore of the sea. What does that even mean? Well, it's a reference to this exactly. That's what the interpreters say. It's symbolic language, and it refers to not only going to influence the world, but also going to influence the church in Israel. It's this double attack of the enemy. Okay, so Satan is there. We see this in like the story of Herod. You know, Herod has captured John the Baptist, and he has this amazing experience. He's coming to this liminal place, this place of transition in his heart. He gets so disturbed by John's word, by his preaching, by his convicting him of sin. He's like, But it says he delighted to hear him. Something's going on. Something major is going on inside of Herod's heart in that passage. This moment of grace. Grace often, guys, it brings us to the liminal space. It brings us to that place where we can now have the capacity to transition into some more different, into belief, into greater holiness. But we have to make that move. And this is where Jesus is very specific. And I think that just tells us all, this is where the church needs to be. Guys, this is where you need to have your heart. This is where I need to have my heart. To be attentive every day, to say, do you know what, there's people today, there's people in my life I'm going to walk past. And they're coming to the shore of the sea. They're being drawn by the tide of the grace of God, drawing them closer with every swell of that sea. It's drawing them closer. But they need a fisherman. Follow me and I will make you fishers of men. My takeaway on this one, firstly, is for us to be attentive to that. For us every day to make the commitment to say, God, would you please give me the grace to be used by you to help people make that transition from unbelief into belief. Help me to live in that place, to be able to be a bridge for people. There's an extraordinary moment happening in the church and in the world where regular folks have this capacity to, with Jesus, be on that place where all the action is, that shore, that symbolic shore of the sea, to proclaim like never before to souls who are experiencing grace, to proclaim Jesus as the way, the truth, and the life. Have you ever thought of doing something like this? Is there a way that the Lord could use you specifically as a digital missionary? That's a phrase, I think, from some of one of the documents from the Synod. The church really wants to encourage digital missionaries. Is this something that you've thought about? Is this something you'd be open to? What might that look like? I have no idea. Just ask the Lord. Give it to him. If he prompts you and moves you, opens a door, walk through it. And this is what Jesus modeled for us. To be in that place of grace, to be in that place like an attentive, patient fisherman, casting it out every week, every Thursday. No idea who's jumping in the net. I know I was using a rod there, but it's more of a net, really. No clue how many will get in the net. But with the grace of God, more people with every video. So there you go, lads. There's just a couple of thoughts and a little invitation and challenge. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Great food. Food. A lot of foods, great foods are being produced by these people. Okay, I really hope that doesn't make it into the final cut.